Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast, episode 55. I'm Adam Miller, and I'm here with Jaren Will each and every week, and we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
It's just basketball.
if you're checking into this episode, you're going to notice that it's a deviation from what we've been doing for the last 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks now.
Something like that. The time, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, when you're...
The last several episodes.
I think the last 8 or 9.
Yes, 8 is that is several.
I don't know, man. People, there's like a few is what, 3, several is 4.
More than 3.
I don't know. Yeah. It's all picky, I guess, what you want to call it. But it's more than a couple. So we are, taking a break from those just for this episode. So you're getting spoiled this week with a 3-episode drop week. And we are very happy to be doing this because we are bringing in a guest that, we've known for a long time. I guess of our guests, we have known the longest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We haven't,
10 years.
We had Cody on and
Over
met him
10
in
years,
college.
yeah.
So yeah.
Connor, I met in
back to high
college,
school.
so.
Yeah. So we are, obviously, as you can tell by the title, we are talking to Rapheal Davis, former high school classmate of ours. So that's really cool to be able to talk to him. And, obviously he has Purdue ties and he has Big Ten ties. So this is, I think, a really cool opportunity for us to get someone as, I would say, well-respected as Rapheal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've never met somebody who doesn't like Rapheal.
Don't think it's possible.
No, if you met the guy,
maybe people who were who he had to like defend.
Yeah,
playing in college.
Yeah,
those people probably didn't like him in the
Somebody
moment.
Got locked up by Rapheal. Yeah,
he was what, defensive player of the year his senior year. So
yep. So
that'll
that'll make you have some different feelings. But you got to respect the game at least. But no, so we're going to be talking to him this week, and we're excited about that. We're going to kind of talk about his high school career just a touch, because our freshman year in high school was his junior year in high school before he moved over to La Lumiere. So we kind of got a front row seat of some pretty cool moments with him. And then we'll talk about Purdue, and then we'll talk about, the awesome stuff he's doing now with his Crew Life organization and working for the Big Ten. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Let's bring him in here.
All right. We are pleased to be joined here by Rapheal Davis. If you're listening to this, you obviously know him as a Purdue star, now Big Ten analyst. But for us, we know Rapheal as a Southside Archer. So we're excited to have you on. Rapheal, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm excited to be on with you guys. Always excited to talk to some people from the hometown, but most definitely people from the Southside Archers, no doubt. I love that you guys got on the green for the Archers. So it's good to talk to you. I appreciate joining the platform.
Yeah, Jaren's giving back to Southside now with the baseball program. So
yep, I'm a baseball coach there.
Oh, that's what's up. That's cool.
So we're gonna kind of talk about just all about you. If you're listening to this, you're probably a Purdue fan, so you probably know a lot about Rapheal, but maybe you can learn something new about him. So I just want to kind of start with like when you were at Southside. So my freshman year was your last year at Southside, and I remember we went out to, I was on the freshman team. You were obviously star on varsity, but we went out to Warsaw. I think it was the first game of the season, and we open up. Nick Moore drops 50. Yep.
54. No sliding.
Oh my gosh. And then it was later that year against the Scott twins in Northrop. You dropped 53, right?
Yep.
A lot of great players, not even, that's not even mentioning people like Deshaun Thomas, right? And James Blackman Jr. Talk about like the basketball talent in Fort Wayne when you were coming up through, middle and high school.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I always say The basketball era that I came up in, I say from 2009, I guess my freshman year, to you go 2012. Well, I guess I didn't do my senior year at Southside, but I even look at that year and I counted. But from you got Justin Jordan, those dudes, Reggie Earn, who ended up playing in the NBA, J.R. Sims, and that Snyder team. All those guys went to play D1. Then you look at Deshaun Thomas and Russell Bird and those guys, and obviously myself. But even you look at James Blackman Jr., you look at Bryson Brent Scott, you look at VJ Beacham and
Mhm.
Big Steve and all the guys that were kind of in that era, in that group. I just think it was a very special time, a very competitive time. Even I think about that year I wasn't there. That would have been Biggie's freshman year. So
Yep.
you know what I mean. So just the amount of guys that's come out of the town was impressive at that time. And then a couple years after, you had Keon Brooks and Malik Williams and those guys. So I think that's Fort Wayne High School basketball heyday. I know a lot of guys will think about like James Hardy and those dudes, and they were
Mhm.
good, but my era, it was tough. It was a good game every night. Everybody had at least a college guy, if not a D1 guy. And even you look at Homestead with Zach Terrell playing football or James Kanapke at Lures, it just was athletes all over the town, and it was really fun to be a part of. I mean, even Tyler. I mean, I came into high school with Tyler Eifert at Bishop DeWanger, so I mean,
Uh-huh.
it was a hell of a time for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there was just something about, like, any game like, any night, you could have somebody dropping 40, 50
Facts,
points, just absolutely just running the score up,
fact.
and, like, that was just so fun. I mean, obviously, that gave us, something the fans to cheer about, but just, like, seeing such dominant, high school, just, like, you went to your local school and you just played, and
Yep,
that's what you did, right?
exactly. Nah, yeah, it was a good time for sure. Cause I'm missing the football guys like Jalen Smith and those dudes, and then
Mhm.
Jesse Bates. It's like you go play hard on Friday or night or like a Tuesday if you like playing a non-conference game, and then you hang out with the guys after. So it was
Yeah.
always fun. I mean, I can remember my best buddies in high school. One of them went to Northside, one of them went to Wayne, the other one went to Harding, and like those games were the games you look forward to bust they head and then go
Mhm.
hang out after. So I mean, it's Fort Wayne basketball right now isn't what it used to be, and that's a little reason why we kind of started our organization to kind of get it back. But it was a time where Fort Wayne, we were competing for state championships, not just in the lower divisions, but I mean Snyder started out my freshman year they lost in state, but that's kind of Fort Wayne was big time basketball.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, thinking back to, obviously Adam and I do this show now because we love watching college basketball. I mean, for me, that was, I never played basketball. I always enjoyed it. I just wasn't very good. Um, but that's like what started my love for
Yeah,
college ball because I could follow these kids. Like I saw them in the hallway at school, or I'd see them out and about, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna watch them when they're in college because I can say, hey, I've shaken that guy's hand, or I've
Mhm.
I've
yeah.
I've dapped him up. Like I know
Yeah.
these people, so I think that's really cool to see. So I guess the next question would be, what was your recruitment like? Right, you committed to Matt Painter and Purdue before you left for your senior year, I believe, to go to LaLu. Um, so a lot of kids these days, I feel like, go to a prep school to help them get noticed and develop. But thinking back during that time, who was recruiting you the hardest, and when did Paint come in and sell you?
Oh man, so for me it happened real early. Like I was a part of like one of the it probably won't happen like this ever again. I don't know if it's been like this ever since, but like I started getting recruited in seventh grade. I can remember being in the I remember it was '07. I think
Uh-huh.
it was '07. Mike Conley and those dudes are preparing
Yep.
for the NBA draft, and I'm in the Mike Conley NBA draft workout, like with scouts there. Like it's when I look back at it, it's kind of like unbelievable. But then I go forward and I look my eighth grade year, Memorial Park. I was in eighth grade. James Blackman Jr. was in sixth grade, and we were pretty good. And Ray McCullum Sr., who was the Indiana assistant coach at the time, came to see our game.
Mhm.
So from there, that summer, I was at the Indiana Elite Camp that summer. I was at the Purdue Elite Camp that summer going into ninth grade. And Paint ended up, I mean, at that time, and I won't fast forward, I guess I'll take you through the story. I can remember just the start of my freshman year, you had Thad Mata coming to our computer science class at Southside. You had Bruce Weber recruiting me out of Illinois. You had all of those guys in the Big Ten kind of coming after me pretty early, and that was fun to be a part. But then also it got a little tiresome for my family. And then
Uh-huh.
Paint was early. He was in on me early. He brought me to campus a bunch of times. Got to see a bunch of games, and he just was honest with me. He just was It was never you can come here and be the next Etwan Moore. It was never you
Mhm.
gonna come here and play a lot of minutes. It was you come here, you work hard, you're gonna get your degree, you might play in the game. And my parents really resonated with it. My father definitely resonated with it. Both of my parents being having military background, they met in the army, so that's the type of stuff they wanted to hear, no handouts. So I ended up getting my offer in the old Mackey, I call it. Like it's the old Mackey, like not the renovations. Cardinal Court wasn't
Mhm.
there. So I committed to Purdue in 2010. That would have been spring semester of my freshman year is
Okay.
when I committed. I didn't even make it all the way back home after my visit. I had a week of visits lined up. It was like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday type of thing. It was Purdue, it was Indiana, it was Xavier, it was Ohio State. I think Illinois might have had it in there. And I wasn't even halfway home on my first visit to Purdue when I called Payne. We committed. So I was a guy that stayed committed all throughout high school for three freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Even when Paint was thinking about, he says he wasn't, but I was there. Even when he was thinking about Missouri,
Mhm.
and you heard all those rumblings, I kind of stayed through that time, and it was cool. I got to build really close relationships with guys like Lewis Jackson, who's been one of my mentors to this day. And then you look at Juwan Johnson and Etwan and Rob and all those dudes. Robbie is a guy that helped me get into the Big Ten. So it was a thing where I look back at it, I was really young, but I'm really fortunate to have made one of the better decisions that I ever had at that age. And then you transition into, like you said, you mentioned it, like guys go to prep school to get noticed, or they're getting ranked, or they're going for ulterior motives. And you guys remember, you guys remember, you kind of got the tail end of it. But my freshman year, we had Coach Bond at Southside. My
Mhm.
sophomore year, we had Coach Taylor at Southside. My junior year, everybody gets fired. It's kind of when you guys came into school. Is that the year before, all those teachers were fired. The coaches were
Mhm.
fired, administrators, and then next year we got teachers from Wayne and Northside, and Coach Novell, the
Yep.
Northside coach, happens to be our coach. So and then also we only had really one good year of basketball as far as varsity. It was my sophomore year with Coach Taylor. So Coach Painter, he wanted Coach Owens at Purdue. They wanted me to go play winning basketball, learn how to win, play high competition. You think
Mhm.
about we were playing Oak Hill, Mount Ver, like we beat Anthony Bennett and those dudes. Like you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So we were on a really high level, but then also academically getting used to kind of being on a road, handling your work. But then the biggest reason I probably went was one of my teammates, Jay Simpson, who was going to Purdue with me in the same class. He was already going to Lalamere for other reasons, so it was just great to play with him and kind of get to know him before going to school. But then also, you'll be surprised how many guys get to college and can't make a post feed or can't pass to somebody in the post. So going to Lalamere also helped me be able to play with guys that were 7 feet, 6'10", being
Uh-huh.
able to figure
Yeah.
figure that out and maneuver in that space. So Lalamere was a good time. Looking back on it, my brain tells me Lalamere was a good choice, but my heart tells me I should have stayed at Southside. But it all worked out for the end.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, that's gotta be tough going through, like, so many different coaches, every
Oh,
year,
yeah, it
and,
was everybody was doing like Coach Taylor was super defensive minded.
uh-huh.
Like Coach Bond was like, let's just Coach Bond's a former player, he played at Auburn, let's just hoop. And then Coach Taylor was real structured, we're gonna do it this way. And then Coach Novell was, let's get up and down, let's outscore them. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I
Mhm.
think Paint really wanted and my coach at Lalamere, Alan Huss, he's not a head coach at High Point Division One. So it was a thing where you had to kind of go through that before you got to the college campus.
Right. That's hearing those names is so funny because my brother, he graduated from Southside in '95, and he went
Oh,
on and
no.
he played at Hillsdale, so his sophomore year was Ryan Bond's senior year, so he played with him, and Coach Taylor was one of their coaches.
Yep, Coach Taylor was a coach.
So
That's
it's
tight.
funny hearing what, like 20 years later almost, back. They're both back.
That is tight.
But let's kind of jump into your Purdue career. So, your junior year was the 2014-2015 season. It was the first time since you were there that Purdue was above 500.
Dang.
No, I'm getting there. So, for context, if you don't know, like that was like Vince Edwards was a freshman that year, Isaac Haas was a freshman that year, but you and, Hammonds were juniors, and you went 21-13, and then your senior year you went 26-9. And, after kind of a rough sophomore year, turned the team around. I would say that you were pretty heavily responsible for that based on, the things that I was following, the things that I've looked up about that team. But what do you think made the difference going from your sophomore year to your junior year? Because it seems like there was a big jump there, right?
Yeah, I say, I mean, it was as simple as like you hear Coach Payne, you hear guys talk about it now, like having the right guys in the locker room and getting the Purdue guy and having the right fit. Because from my from my sophomore to junior year, like you just mentioned it, we got 5 freshmen. We had 2 returning guys that played major minutes. Well, I didn't play
Mhm.
major minutes my sophomore year. We had one guy play major minutes. Kendall Stevens ended up getting injured, and then we ended up bringing in a transfer and John Noctius, and John Noctius came in October. Like he
Oh my
missed
gosh.
conditioning, missed everything. So we didn't get more talented. We just got a better locker room. Like we
Mhm.
just, and I mean, it was just addition by subtraction. Some guys left and transferred, and that's what the portal is too. Sometimes guys are running from things, but sometimes the right guy leave a program and the program blossoms. And we had 5 new freshmen that were open eyed, they were open eared, they wanted to listen, they wanted to learn, and it was easy. I mean, I remember I think what changed the season and the trajectory was that very first workout of the preseason where I told Vince and all those guys and PJ and Dakota and those dudes we get places 15 minutes early. So if the workout starts at 7, you gotta be in the weight room or the basketball court, whatever, ready to go, strapped up, taped up, at least 15 minutes early. And if it's not 15 minutes early, you gotta run 100 Mackies, and that's not an exaggeration. Like I was really making guys up is 1, down is 1. You got 100, and you got to do it in 45 minutes. And if you
Oh
don't
my
do it,
gosh.
you got to do it again the next day. And if you argue with the manager about the count, it's over. You got to do it again. So it's a thing where we let those dudes know what we were, and that was all new. And
Yeah.
I came up with all that stuff, just kind of in the feeling where I don't want to be last place again. So those dudes, that very first workout, it was at 7 a.m. and they got to the so we're getting there. I got there around. I'm walking into the weight room at 6:30. Like AJ strolling in at 6:45. You know what I mean? The guys, Basil and Bryson, those dudes strolling in around 6:45, and we're all in the weight room. And those 5 freshmen were done with their workout. They had got to Mackey at 5 in the morning and knocked it all out. So it's a thing where I knew then that these sophomores, when you look at that sophomore class, every one of those guys transferred out. Every single one of
Uh,
those guys left the program after that freshman came in. So you look at that class with PJ and those dudes, and they just were about business. And you look at them now. I mean, PJ's on staff. Vince is still
right.
playing ball. Isaac's just retired, doing well. Dakota's still playing ball. But that class came in, and they trusted me, trusted the leadership, and it was a really fun. But I say we all just bought into what Payne is doing, and like I always say, it's about the guys and the buy-in because the plays didn't change. We didn't have a new
Mhm.
system, but yeah, we probably scored less. I may maybe not by the numbers, but it felt like we scored less. But it felt as though our defense got us over. Like if it was we could shut you down. We had AJ at the rim protecting it, and John Noctius still gets upset to this day because he says there's some guys that I was giving credit to when I won Defensive Player of the Year that he actually guarded, and there's some truth to that. John Noctius was guarding Yogi. Obviously, he was guarding like Andre Hollins. He was guarding all of those quick small guards, and you look at the end of the game, or somebody put up a graphic and they look like Rapheal Davis guarding them. So
Uh-huh.
John Noctius was one of the more, and then John Noctius, I would say those freshmen, and then John Noctius. John Noctius made AJ a different person that year. He brought a different swag to the team that year, and it was that fast life Miami swag in Lafayette, and it just turned us up to a different level.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right, the locker room shift is, probably one of the most important things for a basketball team. You wanna have
Oh
a
yeah, for
player-led
sure.
team, otherwise, Paint's gonna be out there working a lot harder than he used to have to be.
No, yeah, and that's the difference from the team. I mean, you look at the last 2 years for Purdue, the Zach Edey led teams. I mean,
Mm,
that's what it
Mm-hmm.
looks like. I mean, you go back to Zach's, what was that? Would have been Zach's sophomore year when you had Jay Knight, you had Travion, you had all those guys. They were a better team than that next
mhm,
year. They were a better team, but their locker room was screwed up. They had
right,
guys wanting to shoot more. They had guys wanting to play more. They had guys wanting to get to the next level. You know what I mean? So it was the thing where these last couple of years, they've all been bought in, and that's because of Zach's leadership. And then when your best player is doing the right things, it just helps everybody. And then Paint wants to coach, and Paint wants to recruit. Paint
right.
don't like Paint
Mm-hmm.
called me and Paint were talking, and Paint was like, Ray, I didn't know you had dudes doing 100 Mackies before practice. I didn't know you had dudes doing versa climbers because they were 30 seconds. Like I was an asshole. I was the clock, analog clock. It had minutes on it and it was ticking. If you were
Uh-huh.
5 seconds late, like if you got in at 5:45:05, you're late. Like it was that serious, and you got to go hit the versa climbers. So I think those type of things is really what happened over the last few years. And then when I left, PJ was on Taco Tuesdays with the guys, hanging out, Jersey Tuesdays, and then after that, you got Ryan Klein took over, and Grady Eifert took over, and peace from Fort
Mm-hmm.
Wayne. But then you had a little drop off after Grady left the program, and then
Mhm,
Zach kind of got it all back going. And I think now with Braden and Fletcher at the helm of it, and Kayla first, another two other Fort Wayne guys, I think
mhm,
the program is in really good hands because that's when the freshmen get to come to see what the work looks like. You look at CJ Cox and you look at all of those dudes, now they understand when they see Braden, this is what work looks like. We didn't have that when we came into campus. We didn't have those upperclassmen leading the right way, and I'm glad it is where it is now.
that's awesome, and, you definitely you said it, you were an asshole, but it's what the team needed, and, it shows in the numbers. You guys were 15 and 17 your sophomore year, 119th on offense, 90th on defense. Your junior year, you go 21 and 13, 61 on offense, 54 on defense. Your senior year, 26 and 9, 19th best offense, 11th best defense. I mean, that is just it shows that, it's more than just knowing how to play basketball.
Oh yeah, like we were like it's crazy. You guys are like whoever listens to him, like yo, that dude's sick. Like he's crazy. Because some of the stuff I never said, but like when you come into the work to the locker room, before practice, I write out what we had to wear that day. White shirt, P emblem, black Purdue shorts, white socks, and your trainers. Like we were dressing alike. Like it was
Huh.
to the point where we had to figure out little things, and it was it was some dudes fought it, those dudes left, but the dudes that embraced it, they left Big Ten champions. Like I look at Ryan Klein and Grady Eifert in Biggie's
Mhm,
class, and they won two Big Ten championships, conference championships. They got to the Elite Eight. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was the class. That's kind of what I when I realized like we were doing the right things.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I guess that kind of leads us into our next question, right? So 2016, you graduated. Did you plan to go into coaching, or what was your career path right after college, or kind of what your goal?
No, I went to play. I played in China for just a little bit. I had just like a cup of coffee in China, and then I ended up rupturing a
Mhm.
disc in my back, and I ended up coming home, and then I ended up I didn't want to do the rehab and surgery and all that stuff. And my father had back surgery. He's still not right to this day. So I was like, I'll give it up. But then just going back to what Purdue meant to me is that it took me not a week to just get an interview with Eli Lilly in pharmaceutical sales. And
mhm.
then I ended up getting that job, moving down to Georgia. I was in Georgia for 4 years, selling Trulicity and Jardiance to physicians, just kind of out of the basketball life, just not even thinking
Uh-huh.
about it. And then started training kids here in my area, here at the rec center. Just kind of a kid asked me to shoot with them one time, and just went from one kid shooting around to 40 kids on a monthly schedule.
Uh-huh.
So that was cool. And then from there, I kind of dove back into basketball. We started really criticize and pay attention to Purdue, what they were doing. Eric Hunter is my little cousin, so kind of got to watch him a little bit more. And then
Yeah.
we started a podcast, and my wife actually, I was watching the game, with my wife, and I was complaining. I'm just like talking trash to her. I didn't have social media at this time, and she didn't want to hear it anymore. She was like, "Talk to yourself." So I started a Twitter that night during the game and started tweeting my thoughts. And then I guess all
Yeah.
the Boilermaker fans saw me on Twitter, and then this media kind of landscape is kind of went from there. It went from the Twitter kind of live tweeting the games, to starting a podcast, to getting a few good guests, to having Robbie Hummel and Coach Payne kind of at my back and behind the scenes. And I got the opportunity with the Big Ten Network. And I got a contact in 2020. I started reaching out, and then it took about 9 months. In 2021, I got an audition, and then I got a couple dates, and then it just went from there. I was a guy that I had 3 dates to start with in November, just three, and then the COVID picked back up. Guys started getting sick.
Mm.
Guys couldn't make it in, and then I was a guy that just never said no to any opportunity. So 3 days turned into 20 days, and that just turned into more consistently. Just because I was a guy that you need me, I'm there, and that's what
Mm.
a lot of this stuff comes down to sometimes being in the right place, the right time, getting your foot in the door, but then also not turning down opportunities that come about. And it's been really cool at the Big Ten Network, being on the other side of it, being in the media. Like I got all of it's been real cool.
Awesome. That's awesome. I feel like one of those things. So we talked to a lot of coaches, right? And they've talked about their experience of how they got the head coach job. Of, they left basketball for whatever reason, and then, felt the passion come back and took the leap. And juxtaposing that with your experience, right? You stopped playing, went and worked for Lily for a bit, and then felt whether it was you felt the passion come back, or you decided that you just wanted to be around the game more and talk
Yeah.
about the game, talk about Purdue. And now here you are on our TVs almost every night that there's a Big Ten matchup.
No, yeah, like I never wanted to be the guy that we're out there with the players and out there with the teams and saying, when I played, I used to do it this way, or back in
Mhm.
my day, I lock you up, or you know what I mean. I wanted to be a guy that when I got back into it, I just wanted to help, and I just wanted to kind of give back to the game. Like I did it, like I done it. Like a lot of guys leave the game and they're not satisfied with where they were. It takes a lot to kind of get satisfied leaving the game, and kind of even when it's not on your own accord. Like I didn't plan for my
Mhm.
back, a ruptured disc in my back or anything like that. So I think that's tough to get over sometimes when you leave the game and you're not satisfied with how you left it. But then once you embrace it, that hey, the playing part is over, but I can still give to this game, and I can still get a lot out of this game. And that's when I started coming back to it. When I started to see kids that I had a kid that had no reason trying to try out for his middle school team. He had no reason. But we started working in August. Tryouts were in October. He made his middle school team, and I think that's what lit my fire to say. It doesn't have to be at a high level. I can help kids make their middle school teams, and that's enough for me. And then
Yeah.
it kind of just
Yeah,
it just went from there.
that's awesome.
So, Purdue players, obviously no ball, right? You've got you working for the Big Ten. We've got Robbie Hummel, I think one of mine and Jaren's just favorite color commentators. We love hearing, you as an analyst on the Big Ten Network. So how does that make you think about the game in a different way? And then are you worried now that you're, on TV, anytime you tweet or say something that somebody's going to use it as like Rapheal Davis, Big Ten analyst said this, and they're going to aggregate you and use your, maybe something you just put out in like a reply tweet, and they're going to put a graphic on it. They're going to say Rapheal Davis thinks blah blah blah.
Oh no, for sure. I think that blew up last season where I woke up up on like a random Tuesday and I'm having a good morning. I just like, yo, if I was to think of 4 guys to make a defensive team, who would I put? And I thought of 4 guys, and I even left the fifth open for your own interpretation. Put my 4 out, and from that one tweet, it just went into a full week of things that I just had no intentions on. No, I don't. I never really go into anything and try to stir a pot. Like sometimes I'm
Uh-huh.
just chilling. I'm just sitting with my kids, something watching Bluey or something, and just a random thought pops in. I thought of 4 guys I thought were really good defensively. So then I put that out, and the next you know, I got Illinois assistant coach writing me. You got players writing me. You got fans tweeting me. Then you got Coach Underwood in his press conference addressing one of my tweets on national TV. So um, I think then I got the Big Ten Network emailing me, asking me like, what am I doing? It's like I no, I never thought this would be a point where this was. Like I can remember just a time where when I was just tweeting the games that I could just tweet whatever. I don't think I had a profile picture. So
Uh-huh.
there's a lot that comes with it, being responsible or whatnot, making sure you're doing the right things, saying the right things, but also you got to stand on what you say, and you got to really mean what you say, and then you got to back it up. Like when Coach Underwood
Mhm.
went at me and he felt Coleman Hawkins or Terrence Shannon should have made the all defensive team. I didn't. I did not, and I had to stand on that. I couldn't just bend to his words and just say, "All right, Coach, you're right." I have to address that, and then I have to see Coach at media day last week and shake his hand. So it's a
Uh-huh.
thing where it all comes with something, but it's all work at the end of the day. It's not work. And with the platform that we have and the spaces that we have, we just gotta make sure we saying what we really feel, and it's gotta be reasoning behind it. You can't just be throwing stuff out there for engagement, seeing what sticks. Because one thing I can be proud of that going into my 4th season, I've never said anything on Twitter or on TV that I didn't really strongly
Mhm.
feel, and I think that's one of the things that's helped me stay around these last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna say something, be able to back it up for sure, and you know,
Exactly.
don't just put something out there and you know fold. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. So uh let's talk about your relationship with paint, right? We've all, at least a lot of people have seen him. If you're when you're on TV, he'll come up and flick the back of your ear or poke fun at you. We love to see it. We think it's very heartwarming just because of the relationship that you guys have. But what's that like? You're not with him every day. What do you guys do to keep that relationship going?
Absolutely nothing. It said, like I said, I committed when I was 14. I met him when I was 13, 14. Committed when I would have been 15, I believe. And like for me, it's like you guys have uncles or things like that. It's like your uncle. It's like you may not
Yeah.
talk like I'm not calling none of my uncles and like, what you doing this weekend, man? I want to hang out. You know what I mean? It's like that's the respect I still have for paint. I think we were at media day last week. I keep going back to it. I'm standing there talking with my colleagues, and he comes up behind me and say, "Ray, fix your shit, fix your collar." And he says it just like that. And I'm like, man, I'm grown now, coach. You know what I mean? So it's a thing where coach is always gonna be Uncle Paint in my eyes. I mean, they're playing Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament. They're losing at halftime. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Coach Paint here's my son in the green room. He's on his way back out to the court from half. Stops to give my son an apple. So it's like Paint is like it's been bigger than basketball. I don't have to see him. I don't have to talk to him. When I do, he comes through. I remember I was getting married a couple of years ago, and I didn't tell him because it was recruiting season. It's Memorial Day weekend. You got to go to
Yeah.
EYB or
Right.
something. I know you do. And it was a thing where live recruiting was just opening back up from COVID. So I didn't want to ask him or put
Right.
any pressure on him. And he called me when he found out and said, "Ray, you should have told me I'll be there." And then we flew down to New Orleans to be there. It wasn't like it was just in Fort Wayne or something. He flew to New Orleans, probably had to
Wow.
take a connecting flight. So and he hung out on Bourbon Street, hung out at the wedding. I mean, you had people asking, that Purdue coach, or is that just like random guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Payne's family at this point. It's real cool. It's talk to the staff today, and that's what college basketball is supposed to be about. It's supposed to you come here, you play here, and then when you're done playing, like a Keaton Grant was a few years ago. Keaton was a guy that played a long time overseas. Paint made it his priority to help Keaton get a job in the career field and make sure he was okay. So Paint's the dude where you got him, he got you, and I think we went through some tough times at Purdue where he almost lost his job straight up. He would tell us, "I'm
Mhm.
gonna get fired," and then for to see the last 10 years since that moment, it's been because 2014 we were last place. So to
Yeah,
see where the program is now in 2024, it's unbelievable. Like you see IU fans wanting Woodson gone after just 3 seasons, and you understand Paint was bottom of the bottom. You know what I mean?
right.
Purdue stuck with them, and this is the result. I think it's real cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's ha- right move. I mean, right move. Sticking with him, obviously.
Oh man, yeah. I
No
read an
brainer.
article the other day. They were saying that I read an article 2014. He said this was a Paint's last season to get it right, and it's cool to kind of see where those same guys are when the same guys are
Yeah,
still around and wrote those words, and to see their praises for him now, it's total full circle moment. I don't know how Paint keeps a straight face in front of some of them.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's always in the back of your head. Like, I remember. I got this.
I remember what you
Got the
said.
Oh yeah, I
receipts.
remember when people. Yeah, I remember people said about me in 8th grade. No, sure.
Yeah, no
Um,
doubt.
so let's kind of pivot a little bit. In 2021, you started the Crew Life Foundation, and for those who aren't familiar, Crew stands for Community Responsibility, Education, and Will. Explain to the listeners exactly what Crew Life is, how it got started, and kind of how you came up with that idea. Because
Oh
we're big fans.
yeah, nah. Now the reason being you were there, you were on the team. Like you saw, you look at. I look at one of your teammates from your freshman year would have been Dimitri Meacham.
Uh huh.
Dimitri's now doing 35 years in prison, 35 years to life.
Yep.
Dimitri was a good kid. Dimitri was a kid that when he was not around his neighborhood friends, when he was around Donovan or he was around Tion, he was around you and those guys, completely different person. He give you the
Yeah.
shirt off his back. And you see guys like, or even guys like Lil Dom, I mean Chris. You see guys like Lil Chris, Chris Miller, and those dudes,
Hmm.
and Chris is in prison now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you see guys that if they would have just had a little mentorship and just they could have went this way. Maybe they weren't the greatest athletes, but they could have been in media or they could have been an engineer, like or they could have been a salesman or a barber or certain things that maybe their eyes just wasn't open to at 14, 15. And some of these kids start the path at 14. Like you see it. You see freshman year, you may make the team, sophomore year, you may not make JV, and then you hanging out. And I think
Yeah.
for me,
Hmm.
you look at my senior year, I mean my junior year before I went to prep school, you see our point guards in prison for the rest of his life. You see Jamaris Alexander, he's dead now. He's passed away from gun violence. You see all of these examples, and majority of my team are dead in jail or felons. And it's a thing where, like we were talking about, even through that time, the basketball players that were popping out of Fort Wayne and
Yeah.
especially from the south side of town, it was just great to see. And all of that kind of slowed down. Crime raised, crime started getting younger. The shoe programs in basketball really started to take over. And just kind of
Mhm.
everything just changed a little bit. Now, if you're not playing on a Nike or a certain circuit, you're just not getting seen. And I think for us, it was a thing where we could teach you basketball. We can get you better there. We can have a camp and make it free and then have college players come and coach it. And it'd be a camp that's maybe worth 250, $300 for free. And we can maybe get some sponsors to pay for t-shirts. But then also what we're doing next Friday is probably the meat of what we're doing. Like taking
Hmm.
70 boys and girls to Purdue for a tour. And not just like one of those Ray played at basketball if they were gonna walk around and look cool, but like we're doing engineering labs. We're going around and meeting professors. We're meeting administrators, meeting advisors. We're seeing what it really takes. And we're going on a day where it's going to be kids on campus to see it. And then we're
Yeah.
going tailgating. Because I always say if the kids don't see tailgating and stuff like that, like, how do you know you really want to do it if you don't see it when it's
Hmm.
like, when it's really gravitating to you? So they get to see the football game when they play Oregon under the lights. The next day we'll see the volleyball game in Mackey, the Purdue IU, the Purdue fan experiences that Saturday where the basketball team will scrimmage each other. So we're gonna get to hang out all weekend on campus and one, take the kids away from Fort Wayne outside of their neighborhood. Traveling is important, seeing different things is important. But then two, start to give them goals, some of the boys will be in fifth, sixth grade, and if you start to see what life could look like later in life when you're early, to me, you're less likely to kind of screw all that up. So I mean,
Mhm.
and just cheers though, just being some of the kids just need a high five, just need to be a part of
Mhm.
something. Like we have a kid, one of my closest guys, one of my best kids, and I say best because he's my favorite, but one of my favorites. I think of him, and his father was one of the better basketball players coming out in Deshaun Thomas's class. They played AAU all together coming up. He was talented, highly talented. His mother was a really good young lady. She was intelligent, had on her good shoulders, went to good schools. And I look at little man now, and his father's gone to gun violence, dead and deceased, and his mother's gone to to unforeseen circumstances. So now
Mhm.
he doesn't have a mom or a father. So basketball aside, he just needs somebody else to be around. You know, like
Mhm.
I say, an uncle figure or something like that, where he's living with his grandparents, it's slow motion there. He needs to be around youth. He needs to be seeing what other life could be like outside of what his own circumstances were. So I think stuff like that are the reasons that we really started it and kind of wanted to get back to it. And then just straight out, just being real with you, one of the dudes in town from one of the circuit teams told me kids south of Creighton weren't good enough. And you guys know where Creighton
Mhm.
is. Like south of Creighton, they weren't good enough to come play on a circuit team anymore. And for me, it was because no one spent the time with the kids anymore. There weren't any
Right.
camps. YMCA's
Mhm.
closed down. You know what I mean? Coach Taylor Southside stopped doing things in the summer with fellows. You know what I mean? Just the
Right.
upper league left Fellowship Church. So the youth basketball kind of suffered. And then when you get kids that didn't learn the fundamentals when they're in fourth, fifth grade, when they get to ninth, 10th grade, this is why Southside has had a struggling basketball program for the last 10 years. So I just
Yeah.
think you can start early. We don't have to complain about it when they're later. Because we had kids that our first group 4 years ago, they were sixth graders. They're now sophomores. A few of them at Northside taking engineering electives, texting me every day, how can they sign up? When can a kid at sophomore, my guy Shane, sophomore, asked me 2 days ago, when can he apply for Purdue Engineering School?
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
like they're already looking forward to it. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
already looking, he's
Yeah.
sending me scholarships and asking me how could he be involved with that so he doesn't have to worry about paying for college. So all of that stuff it's been real cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think just from Adam and I just watching from I guess from the rafters, so to speak, we love it. We love seeing everything you do. I think anytime we see something show up on Twitter, we always try and reshare it. Um, but I guess for our listeners, right? How can people help out or donate to Crew Life if they feel so inclined?
Yeah, you can go to RaphealDavisBasketball.com, right? Because that's just kind of, and the name website's under my name just simply because it's just name recognition. People see me,
Mhm.
they may Google it or something. So you
Yeah.
go there and donate. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can email us, crewlifefoundation@gmail.com. Or you could I'm one of those dudes you can call. And my phone number is 260-348-1349. And it's been the same since 2008. So, I mean, if you want to get involved in what we're doing, reach out to us. We would love to have more people. And it just doesn't have to be financial. It could be a pack of waters at a basketball camp would go farther than you
Mhm.
think. So it's been a fun journey. I can't wait to keep it going. And I just the kids get a lot of it, the community get a lot of it, and we give out backpacks. We do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And I think so many guys in basketball, youth basketball, AAU basketball, they try to get the next Deshaun Thomas or the
Right.
next
Yep.
Jalen Smith or Jesse Bates. They want the next dude, and they want to ride them out until they get there with them. You know what I mean? And then for me,
Mhm.
it's about you could have one of those, but what if you build up 20, 30 young men that know how to be successful in their own regard? Maybe five of them are engineers, maybe a few of them run mechanic shops, they're barbers, they're salesmen, they're lawyers, and they're coming back to the community affecting it in that way and understanding at a young age, somebody helped me, so now I have to help the next. So I always say if you can get 30 kids to see the value in making 80 grand, 100 grand a year, and
Mhm.
understand that that's a lot of money to take care of your family. It doesn't have to
Yep.
be like I was talking to a kid at Southside last year. I was principal for a day, and he told me he had to make over $900,000. That just I don't know why that's his number, but that was
Huh.
his number. To him that was successful because some
Uh-huh.
kids you're either rich or you're poor. You don't
Yep.
really some kids don't understand that 80,000 I'm going on vacation. A hundred
Right.
thousand I may be going over out of the country. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think those things open eyes up to those career fields and seeing that space. I think that's a little more important to me than finding the next superstar.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, it's, the thing that we love about your organization is, it's basketball, but it's so much more than basketball. And, we
Sure.
always, we love sharing your stuff because it's obviously, you're doing incredible work and everyone who works with you is doing a great job, but you're helping those kids. And then you're also informing other people who, you know, didn't grow up on the South Side like we did, who maybe lived all the way north of, live north of DuPont. They have absolutely no idea what it's like, or they just have this idea that when you go to South Side, like your hood and,
Yeah,
that's what it is, right?
exactly. Exactly.
And so it's like very eye-opening, I think, for a lot of people who have that kind of idea of, this side of town. And, it's very, like, it's just awesome. I just can't thank you enough for the work you're doing.
Oh no, I appreciate it. I appreciate your guys' support. It's big time. And any events you guys see on Twitter or whatnot, you want to pop up, show your head, come be involved. You don't need an invite. You always just pop up what we're doing.
We'd love to. We're definitely gonna we'll get there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. For
Even if
sure.
you guys wanted to like come over and just hang out with somebody, don't even have to do nothing. Just come and just kick it or whatever you need.
Uh-huh.
Or you guys want to come and grab an interview with Lou Jack while you're there or something, like what we can help y'all and y'all be a part. 'Cause I think like what you guys are doing, I think more kids should, because like you said, you love basketball. You may not never play basketball, but like you never know where this podcast could go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you covering
Yeah.
basketball. Like I mean, the main, you know what I mean? So I just think that this type of stuff is real cool, and however I could help, just let me know.
For sure.
Well,
For
we
sure.
while we've got you on, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you, Purdue, kind of two questions here. What did it mean for you to see Matt Painter and Purdue get to that national championship this last season?
Oh, it was cool. It was real cool. I mean, from 2014, last place in the Big Ten. He thinking he's gonna get fired. I mean, we're thinking he's gonna get fired because not only did we
Yeah.
finish last place, that first non-conference of my junior year, that year we turned it around. We had a 4 game stretch. Think of this 4 game stretch going into Christmas break. You lose at home to Gardner Webb. You lose on the road to Vandy. You lose by, I think, 30 to Notre Dame, I think. Or Butler.
31.
That would have been Butler. You lose by
Thir
30 or something to Butler. And
31
then
to
that
Notre
last,
Dame.
yeah, to Notre Dame. And then you lose
Yep.
at home. You lose at home to Gardner. No, you lose North Florida first at home. And then go
Yep.
like December 22nd, I think, or 23rd, one of those 2 days. We lose at home to Gardner Webb. And this
Yep.
is the non-conference after finishing last place. You know what I mean? We thought Coach Paint wasn't gonna make it back. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? So it's a thing where to see where they are now, I mean, it's crazy. Because not only did you had guys transfer out on him, quit on him, talk bad about him in the media after they left, and he just did it his way. He didn't cheat. He didn't cut any corners. He didn't cry about it. He got better as a coach. He got better as a recruiter, and guys bought in, and it was just it's great to see. But I mean, for me, not even just Paint, but seeing PJ go,
Mhm.
or seeing Coach Brentley go, and
Hmm.
Coach Lusk. Coach Lusk was a dude I committed when Coach Lusk was on staff the first time. So like seeing those schools get a chance to experience it, it was phenomenal. It was great. And just Robbie got to be a part of it, like because I was committed when he was going through the knee troubles. I got to go to
Yeah.
practice and I got to see Rob on the sideline actually struggling mentally because he wanted to be out there. So
Hmm.
it was just one of those full circle moments that I was glad I got to cover from the studio.
Yeah. And we're glad that Robbie got that moment for him as a player, and then having to call seemingly every number one upset that Purdue. It was like Robbie's on the call, Rutgers at Purdue. Oh, come on now. Like, how are you
Facts.
gonna make him call that game? But then, my other question is, what's your what are your thoughts on this year's team? You said, you know,
Yeah.
Edie's gone, but you said that Braden Smith's got that locker room, Fletcher Lloyd, they've got that locker room,
Yep.
probably rolling the same.
I think it'd be business as usual. I think Trey Kaufman will be an all conference guy. I think he's not, I don't know if he's going to average 24, 14, or 12.
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't know, or be a rim protector that Zach was, but I think he's going to give you all Big Ten caliber post production. Rather that's 17 and 9, 18 and 10. I think Trey is that good. I think Trey's that good for those expectations. I think Braden and Fletcher will take a jump. I think Braden's gonna have to have the ball in his hands to be confident, make shots, get everybody in his position. It's all falling on the back of Braden, but then Fletcher's gonna have to continue what he's been doing and take a jump, driving
Mhm.
the basketball, handling the
Mhm.
basketball defensively. Because I think this season, as much as we focus on losing Zach and Zach's production, I think the production of Lance Jones is
Yep.
just as important, or maybe even more important. Because you go back a couple years ago, you still missed that Lance Jones when you had a Zach Edey. So I think
Yep.
Yep.
a secondary ball handler will be important to kind of find out who that will be. But then also, who does Paint trust to guard quickness on the perimeter? You know what I mean? Who guards Michi Johnson, or who guards Dylan Andrews, or that second guard from opposing teams in space? So I think
Right.
that's my line question, kind of who steps up as a secondary. I mean, I think it could be Jakari. I know
Yeah.
Mhm.
CJ's a dog as well. So I think Purdue is in position when you look at across the league. It's crazy, but you lose Zach Edey, you really think Purdue should win the league again. It's Purdue's to
Right.
lose.
Yep.
So I think
Yep.
I still think it's Purdue's to lose. I know people may say Indiana has more talent on paper, but talent doesn't compare to continuity sometimes. And if
Yep.
those freshmen come in and if they give what they're expected to give, I see Purdue. I can see Purdue running the tables again in the conference.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. We just the other day, I guess on Sunday, we did our preview for Purdue and had them, projected to win the Big Ten, and we were just
Yep.
I think our question, one of them was like, do we see Trey Kaufman Ren primarily at the 4 or primarily at the 5? It's kind of the one thing we were wondering, right?
Mhm.
And I think he's
And
gonna
then
play the floor. I think he'll play
Uh-huh.
okay.
if he plays 30 minutes, plays 28 minutes. I think he plays 18 minutes at the 4, 10 minutes at the 5. I think he's a
Okay.
little more comfortable scoring the ball at the 5, but knowing Paint, like I think I know Paint,
Uh-huh.
you got to get a rebound and you
Yeah.
got to get a stop. And when you don't necessarily have quickness on the perimeter defensively, you better have a rim protector. And with them not having the most quickest guys defensively, I could see Trey maybe picking up some fouls trying to protect the rim. So I think you get those 7 foot guys in there for a reason. Like you get
Yeah.
a Will
Yep.
Berg for a reason. You get a Daniel Jacobson and a Riley Birds for a reason. You gotta use them. And I think Will Berg, Caleb First, and those dudes, they could step up in that 5 position. But I think when Trey is at the 5, the offense is gonna look crazy. I mean, it's gonna look
Oh, yeah.
special. But defensively, knowing Paint, I know he's gotten better offensively. I know he's an offensive coach now, but you gotta get. And you look at across the league. You look at Derek Queen at a 4. You look at Malik Renew. You look
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
some of these lineups that, and not the team, not just everybody, but the teams that are gonna compete to win the league.
Yeah.
You gotta get a rebound, and I think that's Purdue. That's been Purdue last season. They didn't get out in transition and beat you a bunch.
Mhm.
They stole points on the glass and they controlled the rebounds and they controlled turnovers. You don't turn the ball over and you out rebound somebody, you're more likely going to win that game. And I think that's the formula for Purdue.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
that's
that's kind of
that's
what
kinda
we
what we said.
what we thought as well. We're
Yeah.
we're excited to watch him play. Obviously, we want all the teams in Indiana to do well, but it's been fun watching Purdue the last few years, and we're hoping. I know you probably don't want to hear it. We're hoping for some competitive Indiana Purdue games this
Oh
season.
no. Yeah, I always say college basketball is best when Purdue and Indiana are both good. Like I was at
Mhm.
Yeah.
that game when they beat Purdue in 2021, Mike Wilson's first year. I was there in Assembly Hall. Like it means something to them again. Like
Yeah.
it was a point where it didn't mean much to them. And now it means something. That's why I love that Coach Woodson is there because he understands what it means. He played in
Right.
that game. paint played
Yep.
in that game. So I think I was talking to Bloom this morning. There's nothing like there's no win in college basketball like it is when Purdue goes to Assembly Hall and gets a win. Like there's no other
Mhm.
better feeling that I've had than beating Indiana at Indiana. And my siblings went to Indiana. Both my siblings graduated from there. So it's always a cool family rivalry. But the program is in a good spot, and I'm excited to see them match up this year for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're definitely excited to see everything play out.
well, you got anything else, Jaren?
No, that's really all we had. We truly appreciate you taking the time, Rapheal. We know that it's with the season less than a month away. We know it's a busy time for you, so we're incredibly grateful to take the time to talk to you.
Oh no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime you need me, just hit me up. My bad for the tardiness today. Kids running crazy, but it's all good. I keep doing what you guys are doing and use me as a resource whenever you need.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate it.
Like we said, I mean, find somebody who doesn't like Rapheal Davis, and I will find you a liar. You know, even you talk about
Absolutely.
the people that he was locking up, right? And he was like, "Oh man, I loved high school because I would play against this guy, and then we just hang out afterwards." It's like, oh, all right, so that's it. You just all friends.
Yeah, it's just listening to his story, right? How he played for some bad teams in high school. He played for some good teams in high school.
Hmm.
Played for some bad teams in college. Played for some great teams in college. The way he, took all of that and learned and helped. I mean, you said it right. Helped turn the Purdue program around from a locker room standpoint. I think that just shows his character as a person, right? I mean, what he's doing with crew life is phenomenal. I mean, that really
Hmm.
like hits home for both of us because we know some of the guys that he talked about, right?
Yeah,
Whether it's they've passed away or are in prison. I mean, that's a reason why I went back to coach baseball at Southside, right? Is because I want to be a mentor for some of those kids who need someone outside of home.
yeah, and it's I think the thing that people need to realize that like, yeah, I mean, Fort Wayne's not Chicago, but like there's still a lot of youth who have a lot of hardships growing up. They've got, a lot of tough things to go through and, a lot of people who don't believe in them.
Hmm.
And Rapheal is trying to turn that around. He's using basketball as a medium to do so because I mean, everybody loves basketball, and then he can teach them about life, show them that when you graduate high school, you can do anything.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's just really, really incredible to see, and that's one of the things that I love most about him, like, he's great on Big Ten Network, but he just cares. It's just so much more than basketball to him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to talk to him and share that story with, all of our listeners too.
Mhm.
I think that um it's like you said, it's more than basketball, both for kids, but also even people who are part of the game
Yeah,
professionally and whatever capacity that looks like. So
for sure, and, love talking ball. He obviously knows ball very well,
mhm.
and, I didn't know he was that responsible for the turnaround in the Purdue locker room and the season, but I mean, having those 5 freshmen who are already there, that helps too, so it I'm sure there's a lot of people who maybe the people who don't like Rapheal are the people who had to run a 100 Mackies. That might be, like, the short list.
Honestly, or people who, didn't make his 4 uh all conference defender list.
Yeah. That's
But
true.
very, very few people, right? He's just a great dude, right? All around. So very much glad that we're able to, do this. Obviously, if you listen to our last episode, we previewed Purdue basketball.
Mhm.
We got a little preview from him as well. So glad to see that we know a thing or two
Yeah, I mean, he definitely, he's forgotten more about ball than we'll ever know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he affirmed us a little bit, so that felt nice.
definitely. Well, anything else?
No, just thanks to Rapheal for coming on. I mean, watch out for the Boilermakers. They're not going away, and it's crazy to think about that 10 years ago, Painter was close to getting fired, and now
Now
they've been
he's
to the national championship game.
yep, in the conversation for coach of the year every year.
Yep.
Well, I guess before we wrap up, just a reminder. I know we said we were doing previews of every school back to back to back.
Uh-huh.
We took a little break. Obviously, we did. Our last preview was Purdue. This episode will come out, and then our next preview will be Southern Indiana. So,
yeah, when you have an opportunity to have Rapheal on your podcast, you fit him in wherever you can.
Yep, absolutely. So, our next episode, we've got 2 more episodes before the season kicks off.
Yeah.
And we'll preview Southern Indiana, then Valpo, and then you'll see us back for our regularly scheduled weekly programming right before the season tips off. So
Yep. I'm
with
already
that,
thinking, Jaren. I'm already thinking of my games.
guess the
First
games.
week. I'm already thinking of my first games.
All right, yeah, I'm not.
I'm studying the list. I'm gonna know every matchup.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that before I
1,000
start
of them.
thinking of the games. But yeah, I mean the clock is showing quadruple zero, so it's time for us to get out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next time. Remember, in 49 states,
It's just basketball.